Hi, and welcome to Watch It Played. My name is Rodney Smith, and in this video, we're going to learn the 2 to 6 player Infinity Gauntlet, a love letter game designed by Alexander Ortliff and Seiji Kanai, and published by Z-Man Games, who helped sponsor this video. The Mad Titan Thanos is trying to gather the 6 Infinity Stones while the heroes assemble to stop him. Will they succeed, or will Thanos gain ultimate power? To find out, join me at the table, and let's learn how to play. First, choose one person to play as Thanos. They'll shuffle the cards with this back into a face-down deck in front of themselves as their 13-card Thanos deck, drawing 2 to form their starting hand. The remaining players will form a team of heroes. Shuffle the 16-card hero deck with this back and then place it within reach of their team, dealing each of them 1 card to form their starting hand. We'll be setting up a 3-player game, so that means there'll be 2 heroes versus Thanos. You can always look at the cards in your own hand, but even though the heroes are on the same team, their cards must be kept secret from each other. Also, give each player one of these double-sided reference cards, which will remind them of all the cards in the game, both in the hero and Thanos decks. Next, take this life tracker card and attach the yellow slider here at the top of the hero track. Then, depending on the number of players, including Thanos, as shown by these values, place the purple slider on the matching space of the Thanos track. So for a 3-player game, we'd put the slider here. Finally, put these power tokens in a supply that is accessible to everyone, including the Thanos player. And that's the setup. In Infinity Gauntlet, the heroes are trying to defeat Thanos before he can assemble all 6 Infinity Stones and unleash their power with the snap of his fingers. Thanos will play cards that represent the Infinity Stones as well as his villainous minions, while the hero players try to defeat him by using cards representing characters like Captain Marvel, Spider-Man, and the Guardians of the Galaxy. Infinity Gauntlet is based on another game called Love Letter, and it has some similarities but also important differences, so even if you've played the original game before, you'll want to pay close attention to this video. The game is played over a series of turns, starting with the Thanos player and then going clockwise around and around the table. And on a person's turn, whether playing as the hero team or as Thanos, they will draw 1 card from their deck and then add it to their hand. Then they choose any 1 card from their hand to play, putting it face up in front of themselves, resolving the effects printed on that card. Then their turn ends and the next person goes. They'll draw a card from their deck, picking 1 from their hand to play, and so on. Now, over time, this means more and more cards will get put face up on the table in front of the players. And it's important that everyone can see what has been played. So make sure as you add new cards to the table, you keep all of them fully visible. So a person's turn is really quite simple. You draw a card and then you play a card. But the cards all have a variety of powers, and knowing how each of them works will be key to making the important decision of which card you should play on your turn. So with that in mind, let's now go through all the options you'll find, starting with Thanos. The Thanos deck has cards numbered from 1 to 7. So let's start with the 2 number 1 Outrider cards and see what happens when one of these are played. First, as indicated here, the Thanos player chooses an opponent and then declares a number. If the targeted player is holding that number, they reveal it, and it is defeated. For example, if Thanos targeted this player with the Outrider's effect and then said the number 3, and this player wasn't holding a 3, nothing would happen. They wouldn't have to show their card, they would just say, no, I don't have a 3, and then Thanos' turn would be over. But if they were holding a 3, as they happen to be in this case, then this card would be defeated. Now, no matter what causes it to happen, anytime a card is defeated, that player puts their card face up in front of them without resolving its effect, and then draws a new card from their deck to replace it. Also, anytime a hero's card is defeated, their team loses 1 life, moving their marker here down 1 space. And if this is ever reduced to 0, the heroes immediately lose and Thanos wins. In addition to the Outriders, there's also a value 1 Mind Stone. An Infinity Stone's power is similar to any other cards in Thanos' deck that have the same value, except that its effect is even stronger. When this is played, as it says here, Thanos declares a number, and it defeats that card from the hand of any hero currently holding it. So with the Mind Stone, several cards and life points could be lost at once. Moving on, let's take a look at Corvus Glaive. When played, you pick an opponent, and if they are holding a 3 or lower in their hand, as the player is here, that card is defeated. The Soul Stone works in a similar way, but if the targeted player's card is a 3 or higher, then it is defeated. Remember, anytime a card is defeated, you place it face up in front of its player, they draw a new card from their deck, and then their team loses 1 life. If the Thanos player uses Black Dwarf, they may fight an opponent if they want. If they use the Space Stone, they may fight up to 2 different opponents. Though if there's only 1 hero player at the table, Thanos will fight that player twice instead. An important thing to understand here is that the wording says you may fight. If Thanos doesn't want to start a fight, they can still play this card, but then ignore its effect and end their turn. Now, if they do choose to fight, then anytime a fight occurs, that player will pick 1 opponent, let's say in this case, the one here, and then Thanos and that player secretly compares a single card from their hands and sees who has the higher value. Now Thanos will have a choice between 2 cards because they're holding 2, while the hero player will only have 1 option. They reveal those cards privately to each other, not to the other players, and the lower card is defeated. But the winner keeps their card. As we know, when a card is defeated, it is placed face up in front of that player, and then that player draws a new card from their deck. Now, if there had been a tie, neither card is defeated, and both players would keep their cards in their hand. To help in a fight, players can use these power tokens if they've acquired any of them earlier in the game. For example, the Thanos player might play Proxima Midnight, which would then allow them to take 1 power token from the supply. However, if they play the Power Stone, instead they get a total of 3 power tokens. During a fight, a player with a power token must spend it to add +2 to their card's value in that fight. Let's say, for example, these 2 were resolving a fight, and you can see Thor's power is stronger than Corvus's. But the Thanos player has power tokens, so they must spend 1 of them, which adds +2 to their value, giving them a total of 4, which would defeat Thor. Then after a fight, you return any used power tokens back to the supply. And I just want to remind you, you must spend a power token during a fight if you have one, even if you don't need it. For example, if these 2 characters were fighting, the Thanos player has already won. They don't need a power token, but because they have one, they will have to spend it during the fight, returning it to the supply afterwards. Only 1 power token may be spent by a player during a fight, so if a player has more than 1, they keep the remaining tokens for next time. Also, if you ever need a power token and the supply runs out, just use a suitable replacement. Moving on, next let's look at Ebony Maw and the Reality Stone. This effect here allows Thanos to first draw 1 card from their deck, add it to their hand, and then pick any 1 card from their hand to place on the bottom of their deck. With the Reality Stone, instead they draw 2 cards from this deck, and then pick any 2 cards in their hand, which they then put on the bottom of their deck. This Time Stone is the only card Thanos has at this value, and playing this allows Thanos to copy the effects of 1 of their cards already face up on the table. For example, here, Thanos could copy the Space Stone's ability, and then fight up to 2 opponents again. Finally, there's Thanos himself, but this card says it cannot be played. So what's the point of it? Well, Thanos is a value 7, the highest card in the game, and having this in your hand means that he will always win any fight he is in when the Thanos player chooses that card to compare against the heroes. Unless the hero player uses a card like Captain Marvel and has a power token to go with it. With that, we've seen all of the cards in Thanos' deck, but notice that the stones and Thanos have extra instructions here at the bottom. These say that when defeated, instead of being placed face up on the table like minions would be, the Thanos player first draws a replacement card and then shuffles the defeated Thanos or Infinity Stone back into their deck. This is important to the heroes. They want defeated stones shuffled back into the deck where they're further away from the Thanos player. Because if Thanos ever has all 6 Infinity Stones and it is their turn, they immediately win the game. And having the stones includes any that are face up on the table, as well as those in their hand. So, for example, if Thanos has 4 of the stones already on the table, like I have here, and then was holding the other 2, as long as it's their turn, they can now reveal them, impressively snap their fingers, and win. So as you can likely tell, Thanos is a powerful enemy, but the heroes aren't defenseless. So next, let's take a look at the cards that they have. All the value 1 cards let the player guess a number, and if Thanos is holding one that matches that value, it is defeated. For example, let's say the player used Spider-Man and guessed 3. Here, the Thanos player has a 3, so it will be defeated. If Thanos happens to be holding 2 cards of the named value, he picks which one to defeat, but does not reveal that he had another option. Just like when hero cards are defeated, when this happens to a Thanos card, Thanos loses a life. And if the hero players can reduce Thanos' life to the very bottom of the track, they immediately win. These value 2 cards let the player pick a teammate who will then get to pick 1 card in Thanos' hand to privately look at. If a card says to choose a teammate, and you're playing in a 2-player game where there's only 1 hero player, then you can choose yourself as that teammate. If you do have several players on the hero team, even though they are working together as a team, the players cannot talk to each other about any hidden information they might have learned, such as which cards they saw that were in Thanos' hand, or even the cards they have in their own hands. But they can always talk about public information, including any face-up cards. The value 3 cards let the heroes fight Thanos, though you'll notice again it says you may fight. If you choose not to, the card does nothing. It's just placed in front of you and your turn ends. The value 4 hero cards let the player give themselves or a teammate 1 power token. These value 5 cards let the player look at the top 3 cards of the hero deck and then put them back in any order, which can be a great way to assist your teammates who are taking turns after you. Finally, there are the value 6 heroes. These let you or a teammate you've chosen fight Thanos. And those are all the cards in the game. Each player's reference will list the amount of each card found in each deck, its number and ability, which will help you remember what has and has not been played during the game, which can be quite useful when you're trying to determine what might be in another player's hand. Also, if the hero deck is ever empty, then shuffle together all of the face-up hero cards that have been played so far to form a new hero deck. On the other hand, if somehow Thanos' deck ever runs out, the Thanos player does not reshuffle all of their played cards. Instead, they'll play with just 1 card in their hand, which is the Thanos card that cannot be played. I should also mention that if you have just a 2-player game, meaning there's only 1 hero player going up against Thanos, then the hero player gets to take 2 turns in a row instead of just 1, and then the Thanos player goes. So, for example, at the start of the game, Thanos would take a turn, the hero player would take 2 turns, and then Thanos would go again, they would get 2 more turns, and so on. And remember, the heroes win the game if they lower Thanos' life points to 0, while Thanos wins if he does the same to the heroes. He also wins immediately if he ever gathers all 6 of the Infinity Stones. And that's how you play Infinity Gauntlet, a love letter game. If you have any questions about anything you saw here, feel free to put them in the comments below, and I'll gladly answer them as soon as I get a chance. You'll also find forums for discussion, pictures, other videos, and lots more over on the games page at Board Game Geek, and I'll put a link to that in the description below. And if you found this video helpful, please consider giving it a like, subscribing, and clicking that little bell icon so you get notification anytime we post a new video. But until next time, thanks for watching.